Hello, and welcome to A and B Mastering the Minds podcast. I'll be your host for today, Bradley Moore. And here on this podcast, we believe that your dreams, your purpose, and your purposeful life are being stolen from you by your need for culture driven comfort. That's right. We think that the habits that you've been given are likely a derivative of the culture you've been living in, and a likely one that is not conducive to an effective strategy for success in life, whatever that means for you, right? So today, I think I'll take a personal episode just to go over something that I enjoy very thoroughly in my life. It's called goal setting, right? Not many people are familiar with goal setting, right? It's very curious to me where I ask people in life about their goals, and probably 8 out of 10 don't even have goals, or if pressed, can't give me one that they would even like to write down, right? So I think that something that will be helpful to go over is how I set goals, how I've learned to set goals, and the people that I've learned from in some regard too, right? And we'll go over today how we're gonna, lay out this episode. Today we're gonna talk about number one, goal setting, how to set those goals, and how to achieve them, and keep yourself personally responsible for it, right? Two, we're gonna talk about habit planning. That'll be our second discussion. Habit planning is going to be the bread and butter or the meat and potatoes to your actual goal setting. The goal setting is the structure, right? You align yourself with the structure and you aim yourself at a target. And then the habit planning is going to be the structure, or I'm sorry, the meat for that structure. It's going to be the muscles which move the structure towards the goal that you have set, right? So we'll talk about some basic habits in terms of just general well being. We'll talk about the 5 pillars that I follow in terms of my life and how I structure that meat and potatoes for succeeding on my goals. And then we'll talk about some advanced habits that will help you. These will be habits that will be specific to me, but we'll talk about how you can create advanced habits that align with your goal and your meat and potatoes, and what that means for you, right? It'll be specific to your goals and stuff, so you have to kind of use your imagination and plan a little bit. Third, we're going to talk about long-term goal setting. We're going to talk about adjusting your goals slowly over time and your plan to follow, right? And we're going to talk about long-term planning. And we're going to talk about adding and trying new things along the way when you have room and time in your plan. That will help you kind of narrow down what you're actually aiming at, right? And so those are the things we're going to go over today, and we'll just hop right into it. I would like to spend maybe 5 minutes on each, nothing heavy, just to give you guys a framework of how I do things and how you can maybe start to do things. And obviously check back in 3 months and see if I'm still posting, and then you'll see if this is a framework that can have some credibility, right? So first, let's talk about number one, goal setting, right? First and foremost, you have to know your goals. A couple that we can talk about here. I've got my goal book right here. This is my main book, just a notebook. It's a title to a book I want to write right there. You just take the notebook, you write in the beginning. Here's a quick example. Bada bing, bada boom. This is my 1 year goals, right? Now, I've got 3 year goals here as well. And I've got 5 year goals here, right? Now, this is just a simple plan that I use. I just started this the other day. Another quick, I know I've shown this on the episode before, but here is my TED Talk plan. That's the same structure, just like a bubble. What do you call it? What I don't even remember what it's called, but essentially I just use square little bubbles and make it nice and easy. I'm a very visual person, so let's just check one out here. For example, something I'm going to be doing here at the at the beginning of the year is I'm going to be volunteering at hospice, and we're going to become a mentor for someone. I say someone because I don't have my mentee yet. I'm in a program called Miami Valley Leadership Foundation here in Dayton, Ohio, where I live. And so, we should probably cut that out, right? Yeah, we will cut that out. And so, becoming a mentor for someone is important to me because I think that I've had many mentors in my life that actually led me down the path of success to gain skills and knowledge to even be able to begin to plan goals, because you have to know they exist, right? So I've had models and examples that I've role modeled. Let's see. Become a mentor for someone. Let's look at these and make sure I don't give any personal information away. Okay. All right, and here's an example like I was talking to. Just a couple examples. Let's see, become a professional speaker and give a TED Talk. So as you can see, I start off down here is where I start. Here's a better example likely. I start down here, right? And then I work my way up on the timeline here. And so you can just do that with yourself. So you can go here and say the goal, right, is I want to give a TED Talk right here, or give 30 speaking engagements, basically. So you break that down. I need to have it done by December 31st. I need to, etc., etc. And so I write down the, have 15. Sorry, it's hard to read in the OBS over here. I have 15 speaking engagements. Essentially, what I'm doing is I'm breaking down the time. Each layer I say, okay, I have 6 months. By 3 months, I want this done. And then by a month and a half, I want this done. And then by, what is that? 3.5 weeks, I want this done, right? Or 2.5 weeks, whatever it would be. And so in that way, I give myself a way to break down the goal, right? First, you have to have the goal, which is, that one was become a professional speaker. Second, you build your little flow chart there or whatever. It just can be linear steps at just 1, 2, 3, 4. I just like that because I'm a visual person, like I say. And once you know how to set the goals, right? Now you have a structure, so you have some place to start. So the excuse is gone. Then you go write your goal at the bottom and say you want to have a goal of save $100 in a month, right? And you would break that down into 4. I would use 4 blocks. First week, I want to save 25. Second, 25. Third week, 25. Fourth week, 25, and then you're at 100 at that 4th week, right? Now that's a basic goal, but that's how all of my habits actually started. Was a basic. I mean, I used to write down go for a run every day, or whatever, 3 days a week. This many miles by the end of the week, or I would write down don't drink too much tea, things like that build into daily habits, and then eventually you can forget the goal because it's your daily habit. And that is the goal of, for me, my personal goals. And over time I can start to add bigger goals where I become, speak at TEDx. That's not something that I've just woke up one day and decided, I'm going to do that. I've been working on my own professional coaching. I don't even know what to call it. Pamphlet. What do you know what I mean? I don't have a complete structure for it, but I'm working on several different, personal development things. Coaching. I have a coaching program I'm starting to work on, and I'm working with a group that's going to help me basically build a TEDx talk. And by June 1st next year, my goal is to have delivered that talk and hopefully put it on this channel, right? And so in that regard, when it comes to how to set your goals, right, be realistic, right? Be really realistic. I've been listening to personal development and developing a speaking pattern. I rehearse in my head when I drive, etc., etc. I've been working on those kind of things for roughly 5 years now. Really, 2 years, last 2 years, really heavily. Went back to school for philosophy, just so I can, really enrich my own life philosophy and give that value back to the viewers, right? So, know how to set goals, know what your goal, know what goal you want to set, right? And then third, you got to take responsibility, right? Here's something that I like to do. There's another part of my system I'll show you. I have a calendar, which I write down everything that I need to do per day, right? And then I have a daily journal in which I'll plan out what I'm going to do for the day, right? And so you can see, just to show you one more time, let that focus for a second. I'd plan out, each hour, just like a daily calendar would, but all that comes from my weekly calendar, which comes from my 6-month plans and week plans that I showed you in this little black book, right? All these little goals, and each one of these can be broken down into the dates that you see here, and then I put those in a particular step. And then I have a structure now to hold myself accountable to. So for instance, I want to do some free coaching sessions with people and just kind of get an idea of how to bring value to someone on average for coaching, right? So I think it's on the board over there, which is why I'm not showing you the book, but I think by May 1st, I want to be able to give 20 free coaching sessions, right? So I started on the 20th. By the 3rd, I'll want to send out 100 offers. I'll continue sending out just, random DM offers. Sorry to look away. We're getting better, 5% every time, right? And then, eventually it'll amount to 20 free sessions, and then I'll know, okay, now I need to build around this. This is how I bring value to the people on average with my tools and training that I've had, right? And then I'll develop the system around that and start bringing that as a coaching program to people to give value, right? But how I do that is the book I showed you, right? I take responsibility every day for each thing that I need to accomplish. I write it out, I check it off, or I exit out, and then it rolls over to the next day, or it goes away, and I move to the next step in the plan, right? And so that's a way you can keep yourself accountable. And, while that I might not hit that 6-month date for the TED Talk, maybe it takes a year and a half, right? But either way, I know where I'm pointing, and I can slowly build and lay each brick, like Will Smith says, lay the perfect brick each time, lay the most perfect brick you can, right? And then eventually the wall will appear, and you just continue to lay the bricks, which is what you do with the habits, right? So let's talk about, moving on to topic number 2, let's talk about habits, right? So you've got basic habits, right? Brushing your teeth, taking a shower, the cleanliness that keeps your body from degrading, going for the walk or the jog, eating the apple, right? These are your basic tenets of good health and good mindset and keeping your body healthy enough to provide you with the energy to do the things you want to do, set the goals, and go after them, right? So something that we'll talk about briefly is part of my coaching program that I'm working on is something called the 5 pillars, right? And I believe that in my life and in my study of, a lot of successful people, mainly just through watching their content on YouTube, hours of their podcasts or seminars, things like that. Tom Bilyeu, Evan Carmichael, that whole crowd, right? Which I guess will be me now that I'm on YouTube too. They all have a common core set of values, and I've kind of traced those down to be, they all have different ones, right? Like Ed Milet obviously has a different physical, his pillar of physical fitness or physical growth, right, is different than Evan Carmichael's. You can tell by their body type and how big they are. Same with me, right? We don't have the same, but I still go run. I still do push-ups and crunches every day, right? I still have that pillar fulfilled for me, right? So, let's see. I call them the 5 pillars of personal growth, right? And this is something that I kind of modeled after Jim Rohn's. I think he has like a 13 pillars or something, but essentially he was my main, first personal development mentor, and I started to develop a lot of these from just listening to him, Zig Ziglar, Les Brown, those type of people, and then I branched out into the new age crowd like Tom Bilyeu and all these new thought leaders, right? And so the 5 things that, in my opinion, are most focused on by these people are they all have a physical growth strategy and plan, right? They all have a physical growth strategy and plan. They go run, they go do crunches, they eat correctly, right? They don't drink coffee for 12 hours a day like I used to, which is why my dentist was not pleased, right? Okay, so they have a physical growth plan. Then they have a mental growth plan, right? Perfect example is Evan Carmichael's channel. That's all he does is talk about mindset on his main channel and show videos of mindset leaders like Bob Proctor, Evan Cardone, all these people that are thought leaders in their fields. They all have a mental growth plan. They read, they go to seminars, they take classes, they go learn from other thought leaders and successful, tip of the spear type entrepreneurs in their fields, things like that. They always have a way to stimulate mental growth, right? So we've got physical growth, mental growth. Third, you need financial growth, right? To have enough time to do this full time, I would need to provide enough value through this content to have enough viewership, to make enough capital to be able to do this full time, to produce better content, etc., etc., and then you get the ball rolling, right? This is the lay the brick, right? But they all have a plan to grow their financial prowess, or build capital, or like Tom Bilyeu wants to build a studio bigger than Disney. But if you don't get caught in the finger trap of this, they all have that monetary success come as a byproduct of the value they bring from their purpose, right? We talked about setting goals and talked about, looking to the future. Like 6 months out, I have 5-year plans that I want to do, like getting my master's in philosophy and my PhD and things like that. So along the way, I always stay focused, like Tom Bilyeu is on his dreams of, beating out Disney. I'm focused on those long-term goals, like becoming a professional speaker long term and spending a semester as a professor and doing these things to test the waters to see if I like that and I might want to pursue that more, things like that, right? But I have a financial growth plan because you can't do those things without freedom, which comes from not having to work a 9 to 5, which is why I don't have kids yet, which is why I haven't moved out of my mom's house yet, because these are things that I know I want to pursue, and regardless of the culture's demands on my manlyhood, I'd rather just take the shame and search all these categories out until I settle on one financial growth strategy that I really like. And it might be a 9 to 5 job eventually if this doesn't work out, right? But until then, I'm growing in other categories and looking for other ways. So you have physical growth now, mental growth, financial growth. Fourth, you've got to have growth in your relationships. The relationships around you have to be growing. This means different things for different people, right? I've got people in my life that I push. I've got people in my life that push me, and I've got people in my life that I just let coast because that's their mode of being. They don't, maybe they're doing fine in life. They don't need that type of. I like to coach, if you haven't noticed that, so I can get a little bit lectury sometimes, but I always try to find a way to bring joy and happiness to a certain relationship, even if it's just telling someone their hair is beautiful for the day, like my mother, or telling my dad that I like, a really good job on the whatever he's just replaced for my stepmom in terms of the kitchen or the toilet or whatever. They're always moving things around and stuff like that. So you just try to build that little bit. It just doesn't have to be a lot, right? It doesn't have to be a lot. Just lay a brick. Hey, I really appreciate what you did for me the other day. Like someone in a professional setting. Hey, I really appreciate that you turned in that file a day early for me so I could get started on that project. It really helped me get ahead, and then I could go see my family this weekend on Thanksgiving, right? Those are the kind of things that are going to build a relationship and give you the growth that you need in those relationships. Being honest and open and pursuing growth in a healthy way in relationships, right? And then finally, there's 2 names I give this because we have theological people and we have scientific people, and then there's a mix, right? Agnosticism, all those things. But the bottom line is there is a certain thing in life called spirituality, whether you call it that or you call it creativity, which is the other name I like to give it, because I'm not necessarily settled on either definition, to be completely honest myself. But you have to have growth in that area as well. I've noticed that all those people that I mentioned earlier, they all have an area like that where they grow. Whether it's, they might not go to church every Sunday like Steve Harvey or, let's see, I think Bob Proctor is also a bit of a theological person himself, but the people that aren't that way, like for instance Evan Carmichael, he's always doing something to creatively grow. Like he's making a Minecraft channel. I think he made a League of Legends channel. Like he's always expanding his. That's kind of a poor example for spiritual growth, right? But let's see. Steve Harvey's show is a great example if you're a theological based person to show spiritual growth, right? He's always basically preaching and sharing that message and trying to get people to push themselves and grow spiritually. And then creative growth, I think, comes from more of like an imagination-based scholastic environment, right? I think that academically, if we can foster the imagination creation, that's really what I mean when I'm talking about spirituality, right? Giving the person the ability to have vision. That's a good way to put it. We'll call it having vision, like the ability to grow your vision and stay in pursuit of your dreams and goals, right? I think that's something that helped me a lot, is just visualizing my goals and dreams and having that, vision growth or, spiritual growth, creative growth, whatever you want to call it. But those 5 pillars: physical growth, mental growth, financial growth, relationship growth in your relationships, and spiritual or creative growth, imagination growth, whatever you want to call it. Those are the 5 categories successful people seem to have inlaid habits in their daily structure to nurture and produce a stronger growth in those areas, right? They massage those muscles. So it's something to note. I mean, do your own research, listen to me, listen to someone else, and then make up your mind, as Jim Rohn used to say, right? A quote I wanted to share with you that I thought was interesting by Confucius when it comes to talking about these growth pillars. You say, Brad, it's hard to run. Brad, it's hard to say I'm sorry to the person who was really wrong in the situation in order to let the relationship grow. Brad, it's expensive to live. We all know this. You know, there's ways to excuse yourself from growing in these categories all around you. There's 100 to the left and there's 150 to the right. You know, take your pick on which one you want to use, but I think that holding yourself responsible is gonna slowly build confidence. You know, have a physical journal that you check things off in, and really, you know, give that. It might be a small little dopamine hit compared to the 2 hours of Halo Infinite, right? But it's going to slowly build. It's a brick. It's a brick. Lay another brick. Lay a brick next to it. And then the interesting thing you'll find is over time these habits will condense into like a mega habit, and they'll all support each other, and they become congruent and linear. And the mental growth helps the physical growth because you can read about you can read more, you can read faster, you're more proficient. So now you have time to read those articles about health that you didn't, or you have such healthy relationships that people offer more help to you in various ways, and you learn more, so then you can do more financially. You get into better circles, so you have a more creative support system in whatever area in life, and you have a better, these things are exponential onto each other, right? So we can talk about advanced habits. Basically what I mean when I say advanced habits, it's just what we just talked about, right? You take running, for instance. An advanced habit for me is while I run, I also listen to motivational stuff, or I'll listen to an interesting podcast. So I'm growing mentally and physically at the same time, right? It doesn't have to be something crazy. I'm not Elon Musking it out here with 7 companies that are, literally the edge of the blade on all the technology spectrums, right? But I'm still growing. I'm building those blocks, and hopefully in 5 years I'll have those consecutive habits to the point where maybe I can do something as interesting and helpful as build an electric car that actually changes this landscape of how companies look at the future of transportation technology, right? And those advanced habits, just that's what that means, right? I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on it because these are things you'll have to develop on your own. It's kind of hyper specific, right? If you don't like to run, maybe you do push-ups, or you do other exercise activities that can be linked with watching podcasts. You know what I mean? There's going to be your own specific scenarios, right? But look out for those ways you can connect things and build those advanced habits, right? Okay, so last topic, number 3. We're not going to spend too much time on this. We're a little bit over already, but we're going to talk about long-term goal setting, right? I want to talk about adjusting slowly over time, long-term planning, and trying and adding new things, right? So Socrates says wisdom begins in wonder. Something I've been trying to do the past 4 months, well, maybe about 7 months, is really dip my hand in a lot of different buckets and try out new things. For instance, I have a greenhouse out back now. It's not a huge one, but I've been doing a lot of cultivating. You can see the banana tree back there. I've got some Brazilian rosewoods. They're actually, I'm not sure what's going on with them, but they have some sort of mold. And I've had, this whole but that whole area has branched off into so much interesting things that I couldn't even, like, for instance, I don't know if this is a commonplace thing in our culture or in all culture, but it was so strange to me. I worked at a nursery for a while, which is what fostered that habit. And it was so interesting to start to be able to know the names of each tree. And it was almost like driving through neighborhoods now. It was like seeing another layer of, like, understanding and reality. It was like a even deeper, like, connection with my surroundings. I don't want to get too woo-woo with it, but it was interesting like that. It was like, wow, I'm not just driving through trees and that's a spruce, that's a blue spruce, that's a pine tree. I didn't even know, I couldn't even tell the difference between pine and spruce, really. Not because I didn't know, but I just didn't look. I didn't know what to look for. And so those little things you'll find start happening, and those are also little blocks, right? I know a little bit about horticulture. I don't even really want to claim that I know about horticulture, but I've got like 20 or so cuttings in there. They're growing. I've got lots of little projects like that out in the greenhouse still. And what that does is it gives me one block, right? And that lets me grow in that area. It's where perhaps it'll help in a relationship, and then that'll link into an advanced habit. It gives me a financial opportunity because they saw my interest in et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so what that can allow for you is slowly over time you're going to experience these new things and try different things. Like I'm going to try to mentor a youth here eventually, I think starting at the beginning of the year. And I really like to coach and mentor, so I'm hoping that this will foster that love even more, and then I'll know even more. I definitely want to go into the coaching field, etc. Or I'll know, you know what? Maybe I do like coaching, but not with anyone that's too young. Or maybe I like adult coaching or professional coaching, whatever you want to call it. I don't know the terms quite well yet, but or if there is a term for that. But I think you understand where I'm going with this. You can slowly adjust your sail, but hop off at a few islands and try some new foods, try some new things. Try being creative for a while and sampling some new activity that allows you to have another brick. Excuse me. Okay, let's just cover our list here and make sure we've gone over everything, and I will get out of your ear for the night. Okay, so a recap. Quick recap here. One, we talked about goal setting. You know what I mean? First, you have to know how to set goals. We talked about the structure, the flow charts that we did. I don't want to call them bubble charts because they're squares for me, but you know what I mean? Block in what you want to do. From 6 months out, I want to have this goal attained, and then poop, poop, poop. Give yourself 5 layers. Divide that time up by 5. You know what I'm saying? Break it into smaller, achievable steps. Can't remember the quote who said this, but they said the real job of a leader is to break down a large task into small, understandable, and executable tasks that your group can accomplish, right? And that's kind of what you want to do for yourself. You want to lead yourself in that respect and have that structure. And once you have your structure and you can start adding some responsibility into it by planning your day, that's where the meat comes in, right? The habits that you want to get in place to start building that perfectly laid wall that's going to give you your response ability to the outside world, right? That way, when you have this ability to grow financially, you are able to respond because you prepared for it. You've been out and done the jog to have the energy to accept the extra 2 hours of work. That way you can still continue your school and you're not tired for the next day, etc., etc., whatever your tasks are, right? You get what I'm saying with that one. So once you have your goals set and you're aimed, you've got your structure, your meat and potatoes are laid on the structure, you're taking action every day, even if it's little action, you're putting the bricks down perfectly as you can each time, getting better at each one each time. Then you're going to start adjusting over time with number 3, your long-term goals, right? So you've got slow adjustments over time, start trying some new things, go and experience some new hobbies, go surf or something for the first time, just explore some things and add it to your potluck, and use those little experiences to help you refine your purpose and what you're really looking to do with your life even more so, right? So go set some goals, right? Build some habits to support those goals and get them done. And 3, adjust over time and keep yourself happy, healthy, and fruitful. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for subscribing, if you would. And just thanks for listening to this. It really, every listen gives me the motivation to do another one, to get a little bit better and stay up till 11 and push myself to, oh shoot, it's already 11:30. On that regard, smash that like button. Rock out, stay motivated, plan some goals. Thank you.